Okay, we're going to go ahead and start while we wait for Paula and Kristen to join. Today is Monday, January 8th, 2024. Happy New Year to everyone. It's 7:01 p.m. and this is Wakefield's Commission on Disabilities monthly meeting. I will call the meeting to order. And Lois, do you have your flag? Thank you. A reminder that the meeting is being recorded. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There were, on the agenda, there were a couple of items that I really just wanted to mention for public notice. The first regarding affordable units available on Tarrant Lane. This was in the Wakefield item. It's a 173 unit apartment at 89 Hopkins Street in Wakefield. 44 of the units are designated as affordable. There is an application, there's a lottery, and the application deadline for the lottery is February 5th, 2024. And there is going to be a Zoom meeting tomorrow, January 9 at 6 p.m. as an info session regarding the lottery process. Anybody that would be interested could get on the SEB Housing website or call SEB Housing at 617-782-6900 extension 1. So I just wanted to put that out there.
Could you repeat the number, Marie?
Oh, sure. I'm sorry, Janice. I forget you're trying to write all of this. 617-782-6900 extension 1.
And SEB is?
Yeah, I'm just
know what
looking.
that is?
Lorna, do you remember? I thought I had. Did we say what it is in the meeting minutes? No, but you know what? Let's look it up real quick.
And you said the Zoom meeting is tomorrow, Marie?
Tomorrow, January 9 at 6 p.m. So let's see, SEB, see if it comes up.
At 6.
Yeah, here it is. It says SEB. I could have sworn I had seen somewhere what that stood for. Well, anyway, it's sebhousing.com. That's the website. And it's located in Needham, but I cannot find what that stands for. Okay. Another point of interest is the town of Wakefield has received a Choice Initiative Award from the Housing Secretary, State Housing Secretary. The Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities Housing Choice Initiative Awards rewards municipalities that have increased housing production and have adopted best practices related to housing policies.
Is that just like a certificate that says good job, or is that an award of any kind of?
Nope, there's money
funding?
involved. It says that 34 Housing Choice Grant Programs award in 31 communities across Massachusetts, totaling $4.7 million. Town of Wakefield is one of 10 municipalities newly designated as a housing choice community and has received $79,000 to build a housing production plan to meet the needs of the town's residents.
A housing what plan?
Housing production plan.
Thank you.
Okay, and the last point of interest I wanted to mention is in regard to the MBTA. It says, beginning December 18, Newbury Rockport trains will stop at a new accessible interim Lynn Station located on Ellis Street and Friend Street. Janice, I can send you an email with these details because I've got it in writing, but it says the interim station includes two 120-foot-long raised platforms with ramps that align with the two train cars closest to the locomotive. All customers will board and exit using these platforms. So,
Also, Marie, I think they have a video if somebody wanted to go online, 4 or 5 minutes showing that new Lynn station. I think it's called Lynn Pro. And it does have two elevators at both ends of the platform itself. So it must be a raised platform, whole stop.
Yes, it says two 120-foot-long raised platforms with ramps that align with the two train cars closest to the locomotive.
The Lynn station was always raised. It was an above the ground station that went over the road, kind of like Winchester. So if you, what did you say the new station's called, Dan?
I think it's central.
Great.
Yeah, it's like the old, we used to call them the elevators.
Mm. Yes, like the old Orange Line.
Yeah.
The L. That's awesome.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because the commission got an email. You know, we often get emails from the MBTA with updates, and it came through the commission email, and I can't say that I've read it anywhere else. So I thought that was worthy of noting.
Yeah, I think, like I said, there's a 4 or 5 minute video. And it also has other things you can learn about that particular station.
Well, that's good to know. Well, you know what, Janice, maybe we can, well, I was going to say, I suppose you could put it in the link, but you could, I mean,
I'll see if I can find it and copy it. That's great that they must have emailed all of the commissions.
I hope
Or maybe
so.
local commissions, maybe the
Yeah.
commissions that are somewhat near the Lynn station. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is making progress, even if we can't
Yes.
have an accessible station here, at least there's, you know,
Oh.
there's some in the area.
Mhm. Be interesting to know how many accessible parking spaces they have. Given that the Reading line is not at all accessible. Well, it actually is accessible in Melrose, in the Highlands. So, but anyway, that's great. We'll take it.
Yeah, we will. So Bill Renault had emailed that he had a 6 o'clock meeting, and so he might be running late to our meeting. So while, and I'm not sure that he's going to have any updates, but you never know. So I didn't have a lot to discuss tonight, but I know that Dan had mentioned at our last meeting about getting our accomplishments into the town. And so that's what I wanted to spend some time on tonight. I went through the meeting minutes, and I can convey what I've pulled out, but if I'm missing something or, you know, something we need to add, please please let me know. And this isn't really in any kind of order, but I'll certainly put it in order when I send it off to Sherry. So obviously we had 2 meetings in March. The first one on March 6th was the we had the Voc team present to us on the accessibility issues. And then on March 13th, we had Mass Rehab Commission come in and do a presentation geared towards employers who might be considering hiring an employee who has a disability. In November, we had a review of the open space and recreation plan that was presented by the Horsley Group. We also had a bike and pedestrian plan that we reviewed and commented on. We were advised in May that the purchase of the accessible playground swing has been made, and that will be installed over at the Dolbear School. And of course, that is, directly applauded to Lois and Dan for their advocacy over these years for getting that put in place.
We're still waiting. Get it.
Well, didn't he say they purchased it? Now maybe it's just they're waiting for the winter to be over so that they can actually install it. Yeah, I hear you. We'll when we see it.
Yeah, right.
But we have to have trust in Bill. We were successful in advocating for an accessible parking space on Crescent Street, as well as Dan, help me, what are those markings called that they did on Crescent Street? To make the lines on the street for parking spaces. Is there some particular wording used for that? No, all right. Maybe I'll try to look it up. Judy attended during the summer 2 community health inclusion grant meetings to assess the community sites, certain sites that were identified in the community and items that can be purchased by the grant to increase usability at the sites. Judy, hi. Do you want to expand on that?
So we should just mention that it was 4 communities that participated in the grant process. So that was very successful for all 4 communities.
Okay. Thank you. We also participated at Wakefield 101. I think that was in October. We identified Paula Thompson as to be our representative on the Wakefield Affordable Housing Trust. In October, we had representatives from the Wakefield High School project team discuss and present the school project and provide an accessibility presentation. And we've also participated in the overview of the zoning overview of the MBTA communities and provided our review and input. Does anybody else have anything else that I've missed or that they want to add?
We participated in the Council of Aging Fair. It was at the senior center.
Both of us did.
And when was that, Dan? What, just the month is good enough? I don't need.
It was close to when the 101 was.
Maybe October.
Yeah, maybe 2 weeks after,
Okay.
week after.
You can just say in the fall.
Yeah, there you go.
Very good.
And anything else before I move along.
Do we want to mention anything about the parking fines? That we're looking into the issue of the state in potentially increasing parking fines and how we will react to that, or what Wakefield will do?
So the list that I just gave was what we have done, and so then I had a separate list of goals.
Got it.
So in one of the meeting minutes, we talked about goals for 2023. One of them was to hold a public meeting on the VOC, which we did. Another was the MRC presentation, which we completed. We talked about continue learning about housing issues, and how we advocate for housing for people with disabilities. And that's certainly ongoing. And hopefully we'll get more involved with that once Paula gets involved and the housing trust gets up and running. We also said become involved with the new Wakefield High School building to advocate for disability access and opportunity. Well, we've had the presentation, but we would like that to be a continuing discussion, as the school actually gets near to completion. And then I also had Janice handicap parking fines, how we want to proceed with that. Does anybody have any other goals that they think we should be focusing on in 2024? And in regard to housing, I'm just going to make a brief statement here tonight, but today I had an opportunity to go over to Harts Hill to look at they call it a duplex. I'm not sure that I would agree with that, but to look at housing for individuals with disabilities that were housed there. And I came away really depressed, concerned with the conditions there. And, I personally will be communicating that to the town of Wakefield, because those were the most vulnerable people that we probably have in this town that we're housing, that cannot advocate for themselves. And the conditions were just not a place I would put my son. Let's just put it that way. So we have a lot of work to do here in this town in regard to that particular housing development, I'll say. And I think that more funds need to be diverted over there.
Marie, where is that located?
Harts Hill is, I don't know if I have the actual address, but it's off of Charles Street. So in the area of Greenwood.
Yeah, it's like the second or third right after you go up Charles Street off of Main. And that brings it back.
I had the actual address.
Now, Marie, did you go to both places? I know they call one Harts Hill Heights, which is a newer project, and then the older ones are as you come in. And I think there's like 2 on the first floor, 2 on the second. They call them A, B, C, D units.
This unit was one, it was a upstairs, downstairs, so it was a unit on the first floor with another unit in the second floor. Yeah, I don't know. I would say they were not one of the newer units, Dan.
Yeah.
There was nothing new about it.
Because I think the older ones have 2 or 3 steps as you just go in the first floor.
No, yes, you're right, because if you recall, we had somebody come to the commission, who, a couple that was living there whose husband had taken a fall or something and was in a wheelchair, and they could no longer access the unit that they were living in for that very reason, and they were advocating for a ramp. This unit definitely had, it was a ramp. There was a, we accessed it by ramp because many of the individuals that live in these units had physical challenges and were in wheelchairs and could not walk. So it's just, yeah,
Were
I
you-
was sad. I
Is
was
it
sad.
run by the town and not by an agency?
Well, it's the state HUD, Housing and Urban Development. So I think it's staffed by DDS, but the units themselves are state units.
Marie, was the place that did you go to a brick building? I'm looking at the sites and
There
it's,
were individual units,
Mhm.
and there wasn't a build. It wasn't like, when you're saying brick building, I'm thinking of the building on Broadway that I know is also senior housing. It wasn't a brick building like that.
I don't think you can see this.
I can't.
Yeah, there's a 2-story brick building that's when you put in Harts Hill that comes up. Housing Navigator, Massachusetts on 3 Woodbury Road in Wakefield.
Yeah, I think I
Allah.
did go up Woodbury Road. It was a maze. I had never been up there before, so I was shocked at just how much housing was actually up there.
And there's another Harts Hill Heights is 50 Harts Hill Road, and that is a 3-story, much newer looking
Yeah,
building.
that definitely wasn't it.
Beige. Looks like it has an accessible entrance, but let's see.
Oh, yeah, wait a minute, Harts Hill Road. Yep, that is,
So it has elevators.
this one did not have an elevator. You couldn't get to the second unit without going outside and then up the ramp.
I think there's what they call the first buildings as you come in, then the second grouping, and then the third, Harts Hill Heights, is the newest of the 3.
Yeah, it looks
Yeah,
much
this
newer.
was definitely Harts Hill Road, part of Wakefield Housing Authority. All work and updates must go through HUD.
So
And
the
it
building
is-
itself was in kind of a deplorable condition. Is that what you're saying?
Right, it was. Yeah, I mean, it's old, 20 plus years old. The interior hasn't been painted. Obviously, the bathrooms and, nothing like that were updated.
Mhm.
The tiles were falling off the walls.
And did you notice if it was built with any accessibility for the living space or the bathrooms?
Oh, it absolutely was. What it looked like was when the institutions closed, they built these units and they replicated the institution look, only in individual units.
It's such a lovely look.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Well,
Hmm.
ADA goes back to what, 1992? Anything after that has to be under their standards, ADA standards. Before that, it was whatever was there,
Mm-hmm.
which I believe places like 101 not Broadway, over on Audubon Road, that big 12-story building, that is before.
Colonial Point.
But that's not a building that's underneath Wakefield Housing. I mean,
No.
people may have, no, okay. I know people could probably maybe have a Section 8 there or something, but it's not owned by Wakefield.
Does anybody else have anything else as far as goals for 2023? Or accomplishments? I mean, sorry, goals for 2024 or accomplishments for 2023?
I know we talked about like the Inspire Cafe and stuff at the end of 2023, and maybe that's something that we can try to keep abreast of and give help to Inspire Cafe and anything similar like that that provides opportunities in the coming year.
Yep, that will be great. I will keep you apprised. I don't know at this point. I think what I've heard is that the pop-ups will continue for Inspire. They were at the Stoneham Theater for the month of December.
Right.
And I thought I heard that they're going to transition some of the pop-ups to town halls in the area, but I haven't heard any more. I'll try to find out some more so I can provide an update.
Thanks.
Paula, have you heard anything from the Housing Trust? They don't have any meetings set up?
Oh, I heard it was going to be early January, but I still have not heard.
Okay, so maybe by our February meeting, you'll have received some kind of information.
So,
Well, if nobody doesn't have anything more, I don't, I can just text Bill and tell him to just head home because
We'll
I
see in
don't,
February.
yeah.
Do we have maybe at the next meeting, we should talk about a plan for how are we going to stay involved in the Wakefield Memorial High School and the Voc projects? So I thought both of those presentations were incredibly helpful, and what a difference between, schools built in the 60s or whenever they were built and now. So all of that's awesome, but I remember Bill saying that he went up to the Hopkins Street project and, as things were laid out is not how they were built.
Correct.
So, making sure that they know that we certainly want Bill to be involved because he knows everything about ADA laws and architectural guidelines, and the architectural board guidelines from Massachusetts. So he knows all of that extremely well. However, sort of sticking our nose in there and raising our hand every now and again, I think to keep people on task. I thought both groups took the meeting with us very seriously. So I want to make sure that they know that we're still serious about it. And
Right, we're keeping our eye.
yep. So, I mean, there's nothing happening. There's nothing being built at this moment in time. But when it does start to get built, we should let them know that we want to meet with them on a semi-regular basis to
Right.
know what they're doing.
Does anybody know whether there's a new person that has taken over the leadership of the Albion Cultural Arts endeavor?
Yeah, that's Dan.
Yeah, that was going to say the town.
So the other person that we have dealt with is no longer in that position, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah, it's now part of the Recreation Commission. Dan McGrath used to be over the AmeriCal. Now he's at the Ace building on Albion Street. So he controls both those buildings.
So his offices are now at the Ace building?
I think, I'm not
Okay.
sure.
Because
Break-
it would be kind of nice to get an update of what they have done as far as, the possibility of actually an entrance of being able to get in there that has some of the mobility disability and and how they're navigating around inside.
Mhm. Do we want to ask for a meeting with Dan to
Well,
say,
that's what I was thinking. Lorna, would you feel comfortable sending him an email and just telling him, you know, the presentation that we had in the past, and would he be willing to
Sure, I
provide
can
us
do
an
that.
update?
If you could kind of remind me who was in charge in the past.
Yeah, I'll send you an email with
Okay.
with the
Is there anything that has to do with recreation that if we're gonna have them, you're gonna
good
ask
point.
them everything?
That's when the swing's being installed.
Is that the recreations department or is that DPW that haven't been able to get around to it?
It's on school property, so it might be school. Is it, who does school? See, Bill would know.
Think they have their own facilities, but I think they would work through DPW, wouldn't they?
I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
Oh, that reminds me, I've got to contact them about another situation that I didn't particularly care for. It doesn't have to do with disabilities, though.
It's always something.
Oh, I know.
I think we have, the person who presented on Albion Arts, those are minutes from probably 2022. Do you think?
Oh, good point.
So you probably have his name and what was discussed.
Yeah.
And
I think the Albion Arts was like disbanded
I think so too.
to the Recreation Commission.
But they are hosting events there, so someone is,
The Recreation Commission and Dan McGrath.
yeah, they're definitely seeking out opportunities and things
Yes,
like
they're holding
that.
events in a building that's not accessible to everybody.
Right.
But they have,
Right,
again, it's the question of money. I think they have to put an elevator in the back there, which is, you know, I don't know, $100,000, very expensive.
Mhm.
but
They also-
that was to access the second,
Yeah.
wasn't that to access the second floor? They were supposed to be doing something in the,
For the
well,
first floor.
first it was the back area, right, with the, whoever purchased the Santander Bank, there was some right of way there, but then they had talked about, I'll call it a ramp, but I know that's not what he was referring to it as, out in the front.
Yeah,
It was
And-
kind of a rampy looking thing,
Yeah,
but the question was, is there still enough room if that is built?
Sidewalk, right.
Sidewalk space for people to get by, wheelchair or no wheelchair. You know, and could they build the sidewalk out, you know, how they have sidewalks, like a curb extension. I think they're doing that like over near the post office and things where for pedestrians, so that they push the curbing out further into the street so that, pedestrians have less street travel as they're crossing. So I wonder if something like that could be done, but I think going back to the drawing board with these folks and saying, what are you proposing to make at least the first floor accessible? Because you can bring things down from the second floor to the first floor if you have an event. And if you're doing a class or something, you can do it on the first floor, hopefully. But find out, you know, I think that it would be a good check. I think that's a great idea to check in with them.
yeah, I think their idea is to put lofts up on the second floor for like art or somebody to run a studio up there to make it before the Ace Center. And I think what you're referring to in the front is making like a bump out that would, there's a ramp that would come out, but I think that might be tied in with that Envision project for Main Street.
Oh,
They did Albion Street right up to about Foster and then stopped. So I think that might be the continuation.
sorry about my cat.
But it's gonna be interesting with the new building in the back, which is supposed to be a restaurant and then I guess condos
right.
underneath the building. How that works out and how they have access to the back, I don't know.
You know, because they got a waiver to not have, I think, they got a waiver to not have as much parking as they are required by town law to have for the use of the building. I think you have to, I don't know what it is. It might be like 2 parking spaces per residential unit and X number of spaces for the restaurant. So,
I think it goes by bed,
I'm sorry?
I think it goes by bedrooms, the parking space.
Okay. And they, I think they got some kind of waiver because I don't think there's enough. That's not a big space back there.
I know it.
So we'll see. But it's not like, you know, Wakefield is hopping after 7 PM. And they're, you know, it's basically everybody, it's restaurant and CVS that is being used mostly.
And Bill would probably, I bet Bill might have he might be able to answer some of these questions for us
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, they got town council tonight too at 7 o'clock, so.
So that's, conflicting.
You know what I'd like to see is us involved with that, the project up the head of the lake, when that gets going, the shuttle bus. As far as taking that shuttle bus down to the North Ave Depot, around to maybe elderly housing and up to Harts Hill and make a loop so that somebody that's in some of these buildings can shop downtown. Or even if the MBTA wants to divert off onto Quantapowhat Parkway to pick up people and then go to their regular route, which goes to Reading and back down here again. But some kind of, talk about that and get us involved in it. Especially with the elderly housing, I think would fit in line with that, with 101 Broadway, Harts Hill.
Yep,
That-
that's it.
Brings up a really good point too, Dan. I think, just with the new kind of the things that Governor Baker left for housing and what Maura Healey is doing for housing, just getting public transportation kind of throughout Wakefield. I know I live in a section of Wakefield where there isn't a bus, it's a mile to the bus. And I'm thinking about like Colonial Point, because I work on Audubon, I often see people kind of walking back and forth, and it's not days like today, it's not the greatest. So, and there's also 2 programs for people with disabilities down that road.
Right.
Staffing is at an all-time crisis for people with disabilities, and public transportation could improve that. So I'm wondering if it's, I think you're right, Dan, about the head of the lake, but I wonder if it's also part of a bigger need to increase transportation access.
Just to expand the 137 bus route out a little bit more.
Yeah, another mile.
They used to go years ago to American Mutual when they had 1,800 employees there. They used to be one of the stops. So I don't know if the MBTA wants to make money by increasing the amount of people on their buses, but.
So Lorna, I've been going through December 5th, 2022 is, it was Chris Carino from the Albion Cultural Exchange.
What was his name? Chris what?
Carino,
Oh, Carino, that's right too.
I'm gonna try to attach it for you.
Okay.
I know that we already mentioned the parking fine issue, but we had talked about trying to have someone from the police department come explain to us what they do and how they do it. And how is it possible that people coming to Wakefield and living in Wakefield have been extraordinarily awesome about never, ever parking in an accessible space. I used to see somebody do it at our school every single day. She pulled up with this mimeographed piece of green paper that she had in her on her dashboard, and she would park in the one accessible space at the school because she didn't want to walk down the street. I think we should all be deputized, and that way we can just issue those fines, and I'd be happy to. I'm older and I have more insurance, isn't that what they said in Fried Green Tomatoes?
Exactly. It just seems statistically impossible.
I agree. that we are so awesome here in Wakefield that no one says, I'm just gonna run in for 5 minutes and park in
You
space.
see people pulling in and out of the space in front of the post office. There's no thing on their front and nothing on the back there. And they may be there for a short amount of time, but the fact is they're not supposed to be parked there at all.
Right.
Correct.
I've been trying for years to get on the post office, like they used to have around town. Those mailboxes with the extended arm that you could just drive by on the driver's side and drop it in. If
Yeah.
you're there, people laugh at me for saying that, but you know,
They
would
have
save-
one over in South Linfield, in their parking lot. So you can just pull up and,
That one in
Put it
Melrose, right next to the post office, and it's in between the post office and the, at least I used to drive specifically there when I had little kids in car seats. So I could just drop things off from the car.
yeah,
I think
running at
that's what they
streets, but it's a one-way street, so they can do it.
do. Mm.
Is it no longer on, remember there used to be a box for the gas and light bills and then a post office on, not, it wasn't Lincoln Street, but that, you know, in
Yeah,
the
that little
the
street by-
parkway.
yeah.
Yeah, the parking lot. Is that gone? I haven't been to mail anything over there forever, so I don't know if it's.
Mm.
It is gone. It
It is
used to be
gone?
there.
Oh,
yeah. The Wakefield Light Department's thing is still there, but
but the
I don't think the
box is
post
gone.
office box is there.
Well, now because the box have these funky tops so that people can't pull the mail out.
Mhm.
Maybe that doesn't.
They're
fit.
even telling you not to use the blue boxes.
Right, right, because people are jumping the poor postman to get the
Yeah.
key. This craziness.
Mm.
But I think, Marie, in the next probably couple of weeks, I think the town council meets with all the different groups, boards and committees in town, which they'll probably invite you to one of their meetings, and you could bring some of this stuff up.
I don't recall us ever being invited in the past.
They have their budget meetings, and I think they have like about 7 or 8 or 9 tonight that they're going through. And that's when they usually speak to whoever's in, you know, the chairman of that committee or board.
Okay,
But we don't have an actual budget that comes out of, you know, a line item out of the budget. We're only funded by people who park erroneously in the places, so it wouldn't be underneath, you know, an actual budget.
But I'm just saying you could invite, maybe get one of the town councilors just to invite you there for the meeting, just to give you a point of view on things.
and then we could bring up the possibility of increasing the handicap parking spot.
I think that's a great idea. We could all show up and
I think-
support you.
I- The reason that they give for not increasing it is they'd have to change their parking ticket book, which would
It would
cost,
cost too much.
so what do you gain?
Well, we can find out how it is that we are, you know, fine free in
Yeah.
the town of Wakefield what do we have, one ticket
2
issue?
years, isn't it? 2 years, I think, isn't it?
I had in the minutes from the last meeting, I have one ticket was issued in 3 years.
Oh, that's it, yeah, one ticket in 3 years.
I don't know if that's correct or not, but we can find out if we meet with them.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Okay, how about one parking ticket we just recently got?
Recently?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
Just for your information.
And how
Christmas,
much was it for?
125.
Okay,
One parking ticket, wow. So that's now we got 2 parking tickets in the past 3 years.
Yeah, they like that.
and Lois, that money went into the account? That's how you know, okay.
Yeah,
Well, at least we're getting it, so we, you know,
Maybe they
that's-
heard us.
Contact Lieutenant Anderson about, and maybe he could zoom into one of these meetings. I think he works the night shift anyway, so he might be able to. do
Yep.
it.
well, the other thing is the board of, when, on the Friday meeting we have,
That doesn't,
but that doesn't really,
Okay, I will take an action to send Lieutenant Anderson an email. I'll query him and then see if he would be willing to jump on some night that we have our meeting. Okay, well, some good discussion. When we start, things come to mind.
Yeah,
Marie, if anybody thinks of something, should they just email you?
Yeah, that would be great. If something else comes up, just email me. I will, in the meantime, I will put together, Dan, do you know when that book is that goes out?
It used to always be the end of January, but that's something you could talk to maybe Sherry about, Sherry Dalton.
Okay, yeah,
He probably files it or does it.
I'll look to see when I sent last year's and I will send it to her.
But it's good to just get one of those books, and I think it's been around. This will be the 212th edition of it. But it tells what goes on in town, and I mean, some unbelievable stuff that even as the fire department, how much hose, how many feet they use for it. It's a nice little book to read. It's almost like Guinness's Book of World Records or something.
Does the library have all the books that go back?
they
Good.
should, yeah.
It put us in history anyway.
Well, we've been responding the past couple of years. No one's ever asked me. You're the one that, I don't know that I would have even known if you hadn't brought it up.
Probably
so.
the last one that wrote a booklet for an event, anything we did. But yeah, it's been probably about 6-7 years anyway.
All right, well, I'll get working on that. We've I'm glad we had the conversation because we've pretty much got the list here, so. And Janice, I mean, honestly, thanks for the minutes because that's all I needed to do was to just go back. I started with January and I just kept reading and I was just able to pull everything right out of that. So it was very helpful.
I have last month's minutes and this month's minutes to get to people. I will do
Okay,
that
that's fine. And we'll just approve
sooner
them
rather
in
than later.
February.
We don't get anything copies
What?
of the meeting
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah,
Oh, and that was the other thing I wanted to mention, Janice. I went on I went on our website, on the town page. And what I don't see on the website are April, June, September, October, November, and obviously we don't have December yet. So would you mind sending those to Sherry? Maybe when maybe just wait and when you send us,
yeah,
oh, wait a minute, December, yeah, when you get those done, just send all those months off to her so she can post them. Is it Sherry, Lorna, that we're supposed to be sending those to?
I believe so, yes. Because she's the one that notifies us when she gets around to realizing that minutes aren't there.
Yeah, I saw January, February, March 6th and March 13 and May 1st. Those are the only ones I saw on the website. So I believe we're missing, and I have copies of them, so I know Janice has sent them out. April, June, September, October, November, and December. And that will complete 2023.
And there was
I
what,
have
two meetings in October?
ones. Yeah, I have 2 October ones that I see
Oh,
right
you're
here. Yeah.
right. You're right. Yep.
I don't have the minutes from the first October meeting.
I can send it to you right now if you'd like. From October 10th, I'll send it to you right now.
Oh, thank you.
You bet.
yeah, we don't get them.
Right, I will do that and I'll, Lorna and Marie, I'll CC you on the message.
Okay, that would be great. Thank you. Anybody have anything else?
Marie,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Dan. Super quick question. Does anyone know when unified basketball takes place? Because I've got players from my baseball and soccer league that I know play basketball. I think it's at the Galvin during the winter months. I can easily find out by asking that community. I just didn't know if anyone had any kids or friends that play.
I think that it starts after the regular basketball season ends.
Okay, so that'd be about mid to late February then.
I believe so, but you know, you probably check with, because see, this is a unified team that they're doing to check through the high school.
Okay.
Because I think it's run by the high school, because it's not the WBA one that goes on
Yeah, I
Saturday.
knew
Right.
that. Right. But for all I know, they're competing for gym time, right? There's just so little of it. So
Yeah, because I
Yeah.
think I had seen something for it and mentioned, and I can't even remember who I had this conversation with, like, is that going on now? And someone said, no, it's after the basketball season because of, you know, court time availability and everything
Sure.
else.
Yeah, that would make sense. All right. I know both volunteers and players, so I can ask some of the families, but I'll let this group know if it's of any interest. I just didn't know if anyone had any loved ones or friends as participants that knew. But thanks.
They have to be part of the school system though, right? They have to be in school,
Right.
yeah, to participate. That's what I thought too.
Thanks.
and Marie, with all the snow we got in the last day, if any disabled people or seniors out there might need their front walk shoveled during the winter time, get a hold of the Snow Angels at the senior center, and they're willing to, do a path out in front of the house, out to the street. Not a big driveway though, but just that path going out. And they usually do it for, it's just seniors, I think, do it as a project. But notify the senior center and they can get somebody to come out for them.
And if you were on social media, I mean, the Wakefield community page had a lot of people advertising and, willingness to plow, snow blow,
How about,
a lot of,
This is
obviously for a fee, but you're right, the Snow Angels is free, you said, Dan?
yeah, I'm pretty sure it's free.
Yeah.
And high school kids that do it. And like I said, they'll do a path out to the street or the front walk, but not a big driveway.
Okay, that's a good public service announcement. Hopefully this is it. We don't see any more snow for the rest of the winter.
This is one of the reasons they have Zoom. You don't have to go up.
I
I
know,
know, that's what's really nice about it.
really is. But we definitely do need to make a plan to get together at some point.
I hear they're starting to do the Heritage Room over the Maricel over with the electronic stuff to do it. So
Well, is town hall, I mean, there are some meetings that are at town hall. If we wanted to reserve that conference room,
they're going to do the upstairs and downstairs, but I think they've only done the upstairs right now, which is kind of a weird shaped room to begin with. It's hard to do a Zoom in there because it's so long and you can't see who's talking.
right? I'll ask Sherry that when I reach out to her.
Yeah, I don't, I think one of the reasons of the Zoom is that it can be recorded and the public can join in, if they choose to, as opposed to being down at the town hall. It's not being recorded and it's harder for people to get there.
Well, but I think what Dan is saying is that they've taken some of the opera funds and updated those conference rooms so that you can be there physically, but you can also be on, you can broadcast Zoom while you're in that conference room so that the public can participate without having to come down there. And it would be recorded as well.
Okay, so you could broadcast it with one person actually broadcasting, because
We
do
could
they
all
actually?
be there, or some of us could be
Yeah.
there and some of us could be remote.
I've participated in one of those, just as you're describing, for the soccer board, for the town soccer board. So some people were participating by remote and the rest of us were in the room at the Heritage Room of the America.
And everybody could see everybody?
Yeah, it wasn't space age technology, but I think people were able to communicate with one another. You had some funny angles as you had to move some of the laptops around so folks could see the people in the room, but it was perfectly fine.
I think they're gonna have a large TV screen, so you'll be able to see it like now, but it's called a hybrid meeting, so.
Right. And Janice, just for attendance purposes, just note that Kristen is absent if you hadn't already. Okay, well, we made it to almost 8 o'clock, so I'm glad that we were able to find things to chat about. All right, so does somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Hello.
I'm sorry, who was that? Lois, okay,
Lois.
thank you. And someone want a second?
Second.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Okay, so it's 7:57. We will adjourn this meeting and we will meet again on Monday, February 5th, it looks like.
Thank you.
So have a good month and we'll see you all then.